So it looked like Caitlin Clark is being blamed for the epic fail for the
The WNBA has officially found a scapegoat for its CBA breakdown. And yes, it's exactly who you expect. Caitlin Clark, the same player who delivered record-shattering viewership, helped secure a reported $2.2 billion media deal, and pulled the league into mainstream relevance for the first time ever. Now players and media voices are pointing fingers at her because negotiations fell apart. The irony here is almost unbelievable. The regret is already creeping in, whether they want to admit it or not. At some point, the league has to face an uncomfortable question. Will the WNBA ever acknowledge that it's actively undermining its own success by blaming the very player who helped save it?
Secret that the WNBA has hostile players, bro. We all witnessed it during the 2025 and 24 season. These players pretty much hate Caitlin Clark with a passion, and I'm here to tell you right now, the hate is growing even stronger because many people in the Players Association and people in the media is blaming Caitlin Clark for potentially being the one holding out when it comes to the CBA not getting.
The WNBA was handed the biggest opportunity in league history and somehow managed to fumble it. Caitlin Clark brought in millions of new viewers who had never watched women's basketball before. She sold out arenas coast to coast. Her jersey became the top-selling item the league has ever seen. Networks didn't throw money at broadcast rights by accident. They did it because Clark drove unprecedented attention. And now, somehow, she's being blamed for CBA negotiations collapsing. The mental gymnastics required to reach that conclusion deserve an Olympic medal. If you're seeing how backwards this logic is, make sure you hit like and subscribe, because stories like this are exactly what Court Queens breaks down better than anyone.
People were saying, hey, this could be Caitlin Clark's fault. And before I just flipped and lost my mind, I had to sit and think about it. And you know what, Caitlin Clark, this is all happening and it's your fault. You're the reason, your greatness, your star power, you are the reason for there being no 2026 WNBA season as of now. Because had you not been such a great player and a big star, these women wouldn't be demanding all of the stuff that they're demanding right now. So yeah, I guess technically it is your fault, I guess. You're too big of a star.
Let's slow this down and talk about what actually happened. The WNBA Players Association has been negotiating a new collective bargaining agreement with league ownership. Those negotiations haven't gone smoothly. The union wants a larger share of revenue based on the league's recent surge. Ownership, on the other hand, is hesitant to lock in long-term commitments based on a single season of explosive growth. Talks stalled. Deadlines passed. And now there's genuine concern about whether the 2026 season will even start on time. That's the reality of the situation, stripped of emotion and finger-pointing.
Word on the street is that the owners is not looking to do that. They telling teams and coaches to move forward with free agency negotiations, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. But the context of the story is for people to be blaming Caitlin Clark is beyond sinister to me. How could you blame somebody that helped lifted all the boats, helped pretty much get y'all this $2 billion media rights deal, and then turn around and blame her for the things that is happening with the WNBA, blaming the fans that came.
So who do some players and media members decide to blame? The person who created the growth that made these negotiations possible in the first place. Caitlin Clark didn't cause CBA talks to collapse. She's the reason there's even something worth negotiating over. Without her impact, the WNBA would still be operating on the margins, with limited attention and TV deals that barely moved the financial needle. She gave the league leverage it had never possessed before. And this is how some people respond. If this contradiction doesn't make sense to you, comment below, because this blame game is exposing far more than people realize.
It's just not looking good, and for them to be blaming Caitlin Clark, like I stated, is beyond me. I want to know what the hell is going to happen with free agency. That's the only thing I'm really caring about right now, because that's the only story that really matters. I believe there's some type of way the owners could override the player.
The hostility toward Clark since entering the league hasn't been subtle. Excessively physical play. Questionable fouls that went uncalled. Veterans complaining about her preferential treatment, while simultaneously criticizing how much money she was generating. The jealousy wasn't hidden. It was on full display for anyone actually watching games. Now that resentment has simply found a new outlet. Blaming Clark for CBA failure is just the latest chapter in a long pattern of established players refusing to accept that she dramatically increased their earning potential. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. She's somehow both too privileged and somehow responsible for problems she didn't create.
This article was released a few hours ago, and it stated WNBA telling teams they can send free agent offers amid CBA uncertainty. So it looked like Adam Silver don't give a about none of the players. The owners don't either. They don't care about what y'all talking about. We gonna get a deal done. See, I believe there's a clause some way or somewhere in there to where the owners can override the players. That's what I'm thinking. If they're telling them they can move forward with free agency, that means to tell me we're probably going to get a 2026.
Here's what makes this entire situation so absurd. Caitlin Clark has been one of the most professional players in the league. She hasn't made public demands during CBA negotiations. She hasn't threatened to sit out games. She hasn't gone on podcasts attacking league leadership or ownership. She stayed quiet and let her play do the talking. Now compare that to union leadership figures like Nafisa Collier, who publicly went on television calling WNBA leadership the worst in professional sports, while simultaneously helping run a competing basketball league. But somehow Clark is the problem. Players had an opportunity to strike before Christmas. They didn't take it. That decision had nothing to do with Clark. That was union leadership evaluating leverage and deciding the timing wasn't right. Since then, negotiations have blown past multiple deadlines, and now there's legitimate concern about whether the 2026 season starts on time. Again, none of that is Clark's responsibility. That's what happens when two sides fail to agree on complex financial structures. What's actually happening is far more uncomfortable. Some players cannot accept that their increased bargaining power came from someone they resent. They wanted growth to happen organically through collective effort and established stars. Instead, it happened because one player captured mainstream attention in a way nobody in league history ever had. That reality is difficult for veterans who spent years grinding without seeing anything close to this level of recognition or financial reward. The scapegoating is especially dangerous because it ignores basic cause and effect. Clark didn't create the CBA dispute. Revenue-sharing disagreements exist because there's suddenly real revenue to fight over. That revenue came from new television deals. Those deals came from massive viewership spikes. And those spikes happened because Clark brought in new audiences. Connect the dots. She's the reason these negotiations matter at all. But acknowledging that would require giving her credit, and certain players and media voices refuse to do that. The league's response has been telling. Ownership isn't panicking. Teams are being told to prepare for free agency despite CBA uncertainty. That signals confidence that a deal will get done, or that ownership believes it can operate under status quo labor terms regardless. Under labor law, when a CBA expires, existing conditions are typically maintained while negotiations continue. That means teams can issue qualifying offers under the old agreement, even without a new CBA in place. Players likely won't sign anything yet because salary caps and structures could change. But the fact that the league is pushing forward shows who actually holds leverage. Adam Silver and WNBA ownership know they have options. They can wait. They can operate under current terms. In extreme scenarios, they even have replacement player options, though nobody wants that outcome. Ownership isn't reacting emotionally. They're moving methodically. Blaming Clark for any of this is pure misdirection. It's an attempt to distract casual fans from the real negotiating dynamics. Anyone paying attention can see what's happening. And what makes it worse is that this moment should have been a celebration. The WNBA finally had real TV money, sponsorship interest, attendance growth, and merchandise sales. That's exactly when unions are supposed to strike efficiently and present unity. Instead, we're watching division, public infighting, and messaging so incoherent it actively weakens the union's position. How do you negotiate effectively while publicly attacking the person most responsible for increased revenue? How do you build public support when new fans are watching their favorite player get treated poorly? The optics are terrible. New fans aren't going to side with veterans attacking the athlete who brought them here. They aren't going to support people complaining about money when that money exists because of Clark. The tweet suggesting she might somehow end the WNBA is peak delusion. She's the reason the league is more viable than ever. If the season gets delayed or canceled, that's on the people negotiating, not on someone barely involved. The league wasted its 2024 and early 2025 momentum. That's true. They let negotiations drag. They allowed internal resentment to spill publicly. They tolerated hostility toward their biggest growth engine. That's organizational failure at every level. Clark's rookie season will be documented. The physical play, ignored fouls, snide comments, dismissive media narratives. All of it painted the league as hostile to its own success. Free agency is now frozen. Contracts were structured to expire ahead of 2026 in anticipation of a new CBA. That didn't happen. So players like Kelsey Mitchell, elite talent, critical to Indiana's success, are stuck waiting. The Fever had something special: Clark, Mitchell, Boston, Hull, Cunningham. Chemistry, competitiveness, playoff momentum. That should have carried forward. Instead, everything is uncertain. Unrivaled's weak ratings only add to the irony. Public criticism of WNBA leadership while running a league that struggled to attract viewers undermines credibility. Leverage only works if you're willing to use it. Empty strike threats make you look weak. Public demands ignored by ownership make you look powerless. Blaming the wrong person makes you look disorganized. The real story is opportunity squandered. Everything was lined up for sustained growth, and it was mishandled. Clark will be fine regardless. Endorsements, global recognition, endless opportunities. The ones who suffer will be the veterans and role players whose careers depend on the league surviving. The 30 for 30 on this will be wild. A league with its biggest star ever that somehow treated her like a problem instead of an asset. The solutions were obvious. Support your star. Acknowledge growth. Negotiate efficiently. Present unity. None of that happened. Instead, jealousy and blame took over. And now the regret is setting in. If you want to keep following how this mess unfolds, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, because this story is far from over, and it's only getting uglier from here.